Hello everyone, this side is Sonali Jindal. Daily we take up the daily news analysis of The Hindu newspaper, and today we will discuss the 31st August news, whatever is important for your exam. And in the initial 1 minute, we see the topics that will be covered in the particular video so that you can skip the video to choose which of the topic you want to listen. And in this also we also discussed like in which mains paper it can be asked and how you can use the particular news as an example in the mains paper, and we also analyze the paper through the prelims lens also, like whatever is important for the prelims that will also be discussed, and we also try to discuss about the previous year questions if anything has asked in the past itself. So the first news, it talks about India is yet to take the decisions on the Indian Park invite to the SEO meet. Yesterday also we have discussed that there is a invitation by the Pakistan for the SEO meeting, that is a Shanghai Cooperation Organization. We will discuss about the SEO again, and we will see what is the basically scenario here, what our external affairs minister says about it, and how it can be used in the mains examination, and how it can be asked in the GS2 IR. And for the prelims, the objectives and the member nations of the SEO is important for you. So the static portion of the SEO is important for the prelims examination, and thereafter how it can be asked in the GS2 international paper, we will discuss about that. After that, there is an article on the growth matrix. So the basically calculation or the GDP estimates for the particular quarter, we will discuss about like why there is a fall in the GDP in the recent quarter. But in that you will get to know if any question comes on the growth or the GDP in the GS3 paper, you have to use which of the indicators you have to specify that are basically driving our economy, because the issues in the particular factors will also be a factor for the potential GDP. And in fact, in the past 2 times they have already asked about the factors for the potential GDP, and next year they have asked about the issues in achieving, or what are the factors inhibiting the potential GDP. So it means the discussion on the current growth matrix, like which of the factors are affecting our GDP estimates, on that basis you will be able to write the more valuable answer for the GDP. After that, there is a senior ICAI scientist hired through the lateral entry without reservation. In the past 2 to 3 videos, and in fact there is a separate video on the lateral entry controversy also, we have discussed about the benefits of the lateral entry could be there, and what could be the basically disadvantages or the limitations of it. And we have also discussed in the last video about the way forward that can be brought, like instead of lateral entry we could be building a civil services board that was suggested by the TSR Subramaniam committee. It means the current article talks about the examples as we are hiring ICAR scientists through the lateral entry. It means in this we are not following the reservation criteria, and we have discussed due to the lateral entry at the senior positions we will not be able to basically fulfill the vision of the article 16. We will see this article. After that, there is another article that highlights the importance of the cultivation of the exotic fruits by the some of the farmers. Exotic fruits may be like dragon fruit, jackfruit, and currently avocado. So these are the exotic fruits that are being adopted by the farmers, and they are being benefited by the exceptional returns in this scenario. And in the exam you can relate it with the horticulture topic in GS3. So if a specific question can come, like what would be the significance of the horticulture, and it will also help in the diversification of the agriculture. So in the GS3 you will be able to use this information as a way forward. So we will discuss about it, the what could be the benefits of the horticulture. And there is another article that talks about the LGBTQIA rights, and these are being made more comprehensive, giving them the fundamental rights, and you can relate it with the GS2, social justice, or the GS1, empowerment of the all genders. Next, prelim bits. One article talks about the IIP as there is a growth matrix, and we are seeing the index of industrial production, that is IIP. We will see what are the core sectors are here, and we will see the static portion in the previous year question. After that, we will discuss what is IPO, initial public offer. It gives the basically difference between the primary market and the secondary market, and there also we will discuss about the bull run. I hope it is clear like what will be discussed in the particular video and how you can relate the particular news to your exam. So the first article talks about that the India is yet to decide whether it will basically attend the SCO meeting or not. Why? Because SCO meeting is currently, or it will be held in Pakistan. But since 2016, we are not attending any meeting of the SAARC. Now, what is SAARC? This is the South Asian Regional Cooperation, in which basically India and Pakistan both are the members. You need to recall the members of this SAARC. And in the past, when we discussed about the Bangladesh crisis, we have discussed about the significance of the BIMSTEC. And I have already told you that Raja Mohanji have said that the basically SAARC is a caravan to which the Pakistan is acting as that camel that is slowing down the whole caravan. So Pakistan is a camel that is slowing down the whole South Asian caravan. That is why SAARC is not being functional. It is not functioning because Pakistan is not letting it to work. And in fact, in 2016, we have seen many scenarios like Pathankot issue and the Uri strike and all. After that, due to the surge in the terrorist attacks by the Pakistan, that is why we have stopped attending the meeting of the SAARC. Now it gives the significance of the BIMSTEC, as the BIMSTEC is the another cooperation between the South Asian countries, but it does not include Pakistan as a member. And moreover, BIMSTEC also includes Myanmar and Thailand. It means BIMSTEC not only excludes Pakistan, which is a good thing, and it also gives the convergence with the basically neighborhood policy and the Southeast Asia policy. As the two members are of the Southeast Asian countries, it means we are able to build a convergence between them, and it can also be helping in the infrastructure building between that could bring the development in the Northeast India. I hope it is clear, like as the SAARC is not working, we need a BIMSTEC, but now the SCO meeting is also supposed to be held in the Pakistan. Now India has to decide whether it will attend or not. And in fact, this article also talks that head of the government are supposed to attend that, but in India, head of the government is not taken as the head of government. Only we can send any of the minister, because head of the government is supposed to be technically is prime minister, but we usually send the vice president. I hope it is clear to you. Like SCO meeting is to be in the Pakistan, that is why we have to decide. And if India will decide to attend this particular meeting, it means India is going away from the decision that was taken in the SAARC. It is giving the message that we are ready to maintain the relationship with the Pakistan at any cost. Let the decision of the government comes. Thereafter, we will discuss further on this topic, and whatever the developments will be there in the meetings, we will also discuss that. But before that, you have to see the another article in the current newspaper only, in which there is basically a dialogue of the Jai Shankar, in which he says era of the uninterrupted dialogue with the Pakistan is over. It means we will not tolerate the terrorist attacks or any kind of action of the Pakistan, it may be positive or the negative, we will react at least. So India is showing we will not be just waiting and watching the situation that has been created by the Pakistan. India will retaliate. And it also says action have consequences. India's relations have remained frozen since at least 2016, and when India ended the dialogue with the Islamabad against the backdrop of the sudden spike in the cross-border terrorist attacks on the military installations like in Pathankot and Uri, indicating that India will respond depending on the relationship with the Pakistan. This also remembers me the question that was asked in 2016, the year in which the basically surgical strikes were in news. UPSC in GS3 in the internal security, they have asked like what is the whole surgical strikes and what is will be the impact of it. It was asked in the internal security in the GS3. It means if you are writing about the internal security GS3, if you are writing like topic is border management, what is the India's preparedness? Even our foreign policy is highlighting we will not tolerate such kind of situations. This gives the basically message to the neighboring country that they have to show some kind of stability and the peace with the us. So then only we will cooperate with them on the international platform. So in fact, in the internal security also you can use such kind of information and you can use this dialogue. And in fact, if the question comes on the SAARC, BIMSTEC or on the Pakistan-India relations, there you can use this because whenever the dignitaries say anything that is the most important one, you can use a particular news in the paper itself. I hope it is clear like in what ways it can be asked in the GS2 and in the GS3 how you can use this information. After that, let's discuss the prelims based information of the SEO. Like in SEO, which of the members are there? First one was the Russia and China, and we have discussed in the yesterday's lecture as well. Russia and China both are the members of the SEO, and these both are P5 nations also, that is a permanent 5 nations. After that, there is a 4 countries of the Central Asia except Turkmenistan, that is Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. Mongolia is not a member of the SEO, it is just having a observer status. After that, there is a Pakistan and India, and recently Iran was added. I hope the members of the SEO is clear to you, and it is having the 2 permanent bodies. One is the Secretariat in the Beijing, and the next is the Regional Anti-Terrorist Structure, that is a RATS. It is in Tashkent, and RATS is actually acting against the anti-terrorist activities. And it means you can use this information in the GS3 if the question comes on the terrorism, like what are the international steps we are taking. And if in the GS2 the significance of the SEO is being asked, then you can use the RATS as it can help us to fight the terrorism. And you need to understand the objectives of the SEO that can be mentioned sometimes in the GS2 means also, as it is basically strengthening the mutual confidence and the good neighboring relations among the member countries, promoting the cooperation in the various fields, for example, politics, trade, economy, science and technology, culture, as well as education, energy, transportation, tourism and environmental protection. So it is working in the diverse sectors. You should write these kind of objectives as an basically importance of the SEO also. If the question comes what is the significance of the SEO for the India, then you can write like India can basically cooperate with these countries in these many sectors, and moreover it is involving the neighboring countries, and in fact in this Central Asian countries are there, the India can get access to the market of the Central Asia. It will be economy booster for India. Second thing, India will also get the access or the routes to the European countries also, as there is a road route to the Europe through the Central Asia. Apart from that, you can obviously think, as there are two P5 nations, it means the reforms in the UN can be brought with the discussion in the SU. And moreover, it can also help in resolving the issues between the Pakistan and India. Is it clear? Moving to next article, it is talking about the growth and is saying economic outlook is evenly poised but reforms need acceleration. So we will discuss that. This article is talking about there is a need of bringing reforms. Although we will be able to maintain stable growth as such, but if we want a good growth or the great jump in the GDP, then the reforms can only bring it. As the economy could be stable also and the GDP we can maintain. As this article says, in the last year, how we were able to maintain the GDP around 6 to 7%, lift the weak rural demand, as there was a rural demand and the private consumption also was there, and due to which private firms propensity to invest in new capacities and the government expenditure was also there. You should be able to basically draw a flow chart and you should be able to link the macroeconomic indicators of the economies. Then only you will be able to understand how the growth is achieved. For example, if I would say there is a demand by the economy, that is a high consumption expenditure. Obviously, if there is a demand, they will consume, and if there will be demand, obviously the private sector will produce or supply, and he will be ready to invest that his money to produce goods and services. And when they supply or invest, people get the jobs also. It means there will be an income, and again there will be a demand, or it will lead to the growth. It means if the private sector invests, then there will be a jobs or the employment, and it can lead to the income. There will be a growth also. Apart from this, if there is a demand and private sector does not invest or as such, government should also create a expenditure to boost the growth, because for example, it can be building the infrastructure. If it will build the infrastructure, then the private sector will be ready to supply or ready to invest, because it's basically supporting mechanism is provided by the government. Then there will be jobs, income and growth. Another scenario could be if there is a government expenditure. For example, if government is paying the fees of your children, it means the disposable income or the people income has been saved. If the people will be able to save more, then they will be able to create the demand in the economy. It means there will be a consumption expenditure more consumption expenditure, again private sector will produce and supply, and there will be jobs, income and growth. I hope you are able to understand the full chart. It means the drivers of the economy is basically demand created by the consumers, that is a consumption expenditure. If it is there, then the private sector will definitely produce or supply, and that will definitely create the growth. And in fact, what is GDP calculation? GDP is what? The production of goods and services. So basically we are taking the total of goods and services production by residents of the India. That is the GDP. So it means if there will be a production, then there is a high GDP. For that we need a driver of the economy, that is the demand, that is the consumption expenditure. But in the basically there could be if there is a slowdown in the economy, it means people will be worrying about, it means like for example, you can think if there is a recession, people will be reluctant to spend their money, because they will think they might need money in the future or in the emergency situation. In such kind of situations, they tend to save more. If they will save more, they will not create a demand, then the whole cycle will not be repeated. But yes, the savings are also needed, because the savings that goes to the banks will give the loan to the private sector. If the private sector will get the capital, then only the jobs or the income or the growth will be there. Because you have to remember the basic factors of the production, that is the land, labor, capital or entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship will also need a capital, and that the capital that bank provides, it comes from the savings by the households. But yes, savings matters, like how people are savings. And in this we are facing some changes also, like in savings, although people used to have a physical savings, for example cash or gold, apart from this other kind of savings could be financial savings. But now RBI survey says, instead of doing the deposits in the banks, citizens or the people are more inclined towards the mutual funds. So bank is not getting the deposits, and that is creating the gap between the credit and deposit. So we need to increase the financial savings of the banking sector. I hope it is the whole cycle is clear to you, and this is what basically this editorial explains. Like in the last year we are able to achieve the GDP growth because the rural demand was there and the private consumption was there, and basically private firms also invested, and in fact government also made the expenditure. But in the current scenario there was a high inflation. We faced a food inflation, high food or fuel inflation, that could be called as the headline inflation. For this obviously you have to refer what is headline inflation. In the past we have discussed, should we move from the headline to the core inflation in the past? In the monetary policy, should we bring the change? We have already discussed. So headline inflation is the one that is including the volatile products into the consideration. What are the volatile products here? That is the food and fuel. So if we are considering them, there is a high inflation. If there is a high inflation, it means people will have less money in their hand. Less money in hand means there will be less demand. Again, the whole cycle you can understand, of course. In this, obviously monetary policy comes into the picture. For example, if there is a high inflation, it means monetary policy has to be contractionary one. Contractionary monetary policy says there is a reduction, there is a need of reduction in interest rates. If the interest rates will be reduced in the monetary policy, it means, interest rates needs to be increased if there is a high inflation, because if the interest rates are increased, it means the RBI can be basically reducing the money supply. This is called as contractionary monetary policy. If there will be high interest rates, it will lead to less money or less capital available for the private sector. It means they will not create or produce or invest. It means there will be less jobs, less income, less growth. I hope you are able to understand. On one side, if there is a high inflation, people will not be able to create a demand because there is a less disposable income with the people. And the other side, if the monetary policy will focus on the inflation, reducing the inflation as such, then interest rates will be increased by the RBI through the contractionary monetary policy. And if the interest rates will be increased, there will be less capital or the costly borrowings for the private sector. If the costly borrowings, obviously they will borrow less. If they will borrow less, it means there will be less investment, there will be less creation of the jobs, there will be less income to the people. I hope the whole cycle is clear to you. There will be less GDP. Now, the important part is on the monetary policy, that it should also focus on the growth. But in India, we are having a monetary policy committee that is focusing on the inflation targeting. If the RBI will focus on the growth, then it might decrease the interest rates in the economy, because it has to create the demand and supply also in the economy. I hope the whole discussion is clear to you, as you will not be asked directly to write about a particular quarter why we are not able to achieve the growth. But in the exam, what will help you is the understanding how we can achieve the growth. They will ask you why India is able to maintain the GDP or why we are not able to achieve the potential GDP as it was asked in the past. So they might ask what are the factors of the growth, and in fact in the main syllabus in the GS3 it has already mentioned that issues relating to the growth. So I hope the whole cycle is clear to you. You need to learn about the drivers of the GDP or the growth. Now again it is basically talking that there is a 1% GDP loss could be there this year or the next year, as the RBI is saying if the GDP growth rate loss will be experienced if the interest rate cuts are delayed. I have already explained the whole scenario, because if the RBI will be focusing on the inflation, it means it will increase the interest rates. Increasing the interest rate, the whole cycle, I hope you can recall, and you can basically go back to the video to understand. And if the interest rates are cuts are delayed, it means the interest rate cuts are to be there, because it will provide the capital to the private investors. If they will produce, then there will be jobs. There will be jobs means rural demand or the urban demand can be created. So it can also tackle the unemployment issue. Now I have already explained the GDP loss was due to the government expenditure was not there as such, as there was election era, election year. Due to the election year, the government expenditure was less, as they could not bring up the major policies. After that, food inflation was there. I have already explained the scenario how inflation leads to the less growth. And there was also global instability, so basically it can lead to the increased cost of the imports. So we experienced the imported inflation as well, and due to the global instability there was a decreased exports also. So reform needs acceleration. We need to act on the reforms. As the top IMF official Geeta Gopinath has pointed out recently, that policy makers need to urgently pursue the meaningful reforms across all aspects of the economy, improve the efficiency of the institutions, judiciary. This is critical to lift its growth potential. So to lift the growth potential, to achieve the potential GDP, we have to bring the reforms in every institutions. For this, firstly you have to understand what are the factors of the potential GDP. Few of the factors we have already discussed: the supply created or the investment by the private. It's a driver of the economy, so that on that we have to act. And our consumption expenditure, the demand, aggregate demand, is a driver of the economy. Monetary policy is also important, and we have discussed financial sector is also important, because it is actually providing the capital. So financial sector is an important one. Technology plays a role. Apart from that, infrastructure provided by the government is also important. But in India, we are having a high logistic cost, that is a 13 to 14% of the GDP. Thereafter, governance come into the picture. So there are multiple factors for the potential GDP. So because the whole system works together to work for the economy. So it means we need to bring the basically reforms. In fact, in the judiciary also, if we basically fasten the cases solving in the judiciary, how it will help, because the investors' issues can be resolved through the judiciary, and they will be ready to invest here in India. With this, we can increase the FDI, and in fact, FDI brings the technology. So we could be able to bring the gainful employment. I hope the whole editorial is clear to you, and how you can use the particular knowledge in the exam, and how it can be asked in the GS3. And one more important thing is, you will be able to understand only if your basics are clear. Then only you can read the editorial. Apart from this, in this editorial or in the article, there was a mention of the core sectors grew. As the core sectors grew, we will discuss about the prelims facts, like what are the core sectors, which of the core sectors are taken in the IIP, that is a Index of Industrial Production. So basically, we calculate index of industrial production so that we are able to understand what is the basically contribution of the industries and what is the production indices of the industries. Why we are focusing on the industries? Because industries could provide the employment to more people, as it could not provide, as it cannot be provided by the services sector as such, and moreover it can reduce the rural distress and it can reduce the stress on the agriculture, as the industries can absorb the semi-skilled or the unskilled labor from the agriculture sector. I hope the significance of the industries are clear to you. That is why we are focusing on the industries more. In fact, in your syllabus, specifically change in industrial policy and the effect on the industrial growth is mentioned in GS3 syllabus. And in this, core sectors are being basically discussed. In the IIP, in the core sectors, you need to remember what is the weight given to the core sectors. Why we are using the word core sectors? Because these are impacting the larger industries. Because in this, all those kind of industries are being included which can impact the larger one. It includes, and the weight given to the basically these core sectors is around 40%. You need to remember this is R is for refinery products, E for electricity, S for steel, C for basically coal, CRU matlab crude oil, N for natural gas, C for cement, and F for fertilizers. These are the basically weight, and I have written these in the decreasing order. So highest weight in the core sector has been given to the refinery products and the lowest weight has been given to the fertilizers. And you have to remember these weights. Why? Because it was asked in the previous years, and this is the question of 2012 where it was asked like which of the industries are being included in the core sectors. I hope you are able to see cement, fertilizers, natural gas, refinery products, but the textiles was not there. So you can eliminate fifth one, and the 1, 2, 3 and 4 will be the answer. So they in the past they have already asked. In fact, in the past one of the question was also their highest weight given to which, and as in the news, if you see the core sectors grew. This is not as such important for you, but you have to see how it was asked in the previous year's questions, and in the future also it can be repeated. I hope it is clear to you. Next editorial, we have discussed little bit already that the lateral entry has been brought in the ICAI, as since 2007 we are basically inducting the scientists through the lateral entry. This is ignoring the reservation. We have already discussed about the benefits of the lateral entry, because the lateral entry can bring the specialization, as the bureaucrats are generally to be the journalist one. It could bring the experience of the private sector or the public sector undertakings into the basically government sectors. So specialization could be brought by it, and moreover it can bring more efficiency, and basically the bureaucratic culture can be reduced. But we have discussed about the issues. We have taken the Pakistan case study where the political members have employed or appointed the persons who are their party loyalists or they are belonging to the military. So it can create some kind of mess, and the conflict or the coordination issues between the career bureaucrats and the lateral entrants could be there. We have discussed this already, but in this the negative or the disadvantage of the lateral entry is also that in this reservation is not taken into the consideration, and it is against the Article 16. As 1995 Constitutional Amendment introducing the Article 16(4)(a) that says the promotions for the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes should be there, and we are not able to fulfill because the current editorial says that these scientists, even with over 25 years of experience, have little chance of promotion to the senior post, because these senior posts are being filled by the lateral entrants, and this basically flags the conflict between these two groups of the scientists, and that creates a toxic work culture. In fact, in the GS4, work culture is specifically mentioned. There you can mention about the lateral entry, and the GS2, civil services reforms has already been mentioned in your syllabus. In that also, specific question on the lateral entry could come up. And I hope you are clear with the Nagraj versus Union of India judgment case, which says like leaving the decision to the states to decide on the promotion regarding based on the data, quantifiable data. That raises the question whether we need to collect the caste data, and we have already discussed as our census is being delayed due to the caste data cannot be collected right now, and we need basically a caste data, of course, for the better implementing the reservation policy. It has been highlighted by the Nagraj judgment, but you need to basically remember as of now is the 16.4a article, and it can be asked in the prelims examination as such, like whether the reservation also applicable to the promotion. Yes, it is so, because it was introduced in the 95 Constitution Amendment Act. And in fact, the amendment can also be asked. Thereafter, just a reference of one of the news in the newspaper, in which basically our Vice President is saying that there is an urgent need to have a uniform civil code for the country as a measure for the gender equality and the safety of women, as it is a directive principles. But he also said that the UCC cannot work for the whole safety of the woman, as we have seen recent cases of the Kolkata and the Maharashtrian case. In this scenario, we cannot only bring the change for the women through UCC. What is Uniform Civil Code? We have discussed it already. Uniform Civil Code is the one in which all religions will be governed by uniform law. It means there will be uniform law for the governing the personal affairs of the religions. For example, marriage, divorce, these kind of. And in fact, yesterday we have discussed, recently Assam has brought the compulsory marriage or the divorce registration with the government for the Muslims, and this is also step forward for the UCC. And we are seeing that the government is also talking about the secular code. So in the exam, in the coming exam, the debate or the discussion on the UCC or the secular code can be asked. And you also need to remember that the Uniform Civil Code is mentioned in under Article 44 under DPSP. It can be asked in the prelims examination as well. You need to remember the article, because if the question comes in the GS2 or in the GS1, because the secularism topic is there, if the question comes on the UCC, then you have to just at least mention the Article 44. Obviously, it will also be against the fundamental rights of the individual rights to religion under Article 25. It could hamper that. But yes, you can justify with the Article 44, and it can also help us, the UCC can also help us in the women empowerment and the gender equality. I hope how the particular news can be asked and how it can be used, it is clear to you. After that, there is a article that is talking about the exotic fruits with which some of the farmers could bring the exceptional returns, and this is the case being seen in the South India. And in fact, from 3 to 4 years, they are also exporting the jackfruits, because in world the demand for the vegan food is increasing. So instead of using the meat or any non-veg product, they are using the jackfruit as a tikki in the burger. So if the jackfruit tikki will be used, it gives the feel of having the meat. It means that due to the rise of the vegan culture, the demand for the jackfruit has risen, and this demand is being taken or being calculated or estimated by the South India, due to which the jackfruit export has increased from the South India. And now they are also producing the dragon fruits, and the dragon fruits production in the South India is paramount. And now we need a focus on the avocados also. So these exotic fruits is helping the India to grow as the demand for these kind of fruits has risen. As the uh, this article says, like for example, if they are getting the dragon fruit in the kgs around 200, and they are selling not in kgs to the consumers, but they are selling by piece basis, and that is can be sold up to 100 or 120 per piece. It means they can get more remunerative prices. So the farmers income needs to be can be doubled with it. So doubling of the farmer dream can be achieved with it. So remunerative prices can be achieved with it, and the diversification of the agriculture that is always discussed, as currently in the food crops we are dominating with rice and wheat system. Almost 70% of both of the crops are being grown in the food crops, and if we will shift to these kind of horticulture crops, it can increase the income of the farmers, and it can also bring the less burden on the soil, because we have seen the soil infertility issues or environmental issues due to the wheat and rice. For example, methane emission due to the rice. I hope the significance is clear to you, and if the question comes like horticulture crop significance, then you can write for the stakeholders wise. Like if any question comes like what will be the significance, you can think it will benefit the farmers, then it will also benefit the society, because the nutritional requirements will be less. Nutritional requirements could be fulfilled. The malnutrition can be curbed. After that, it will also boost the economy, as the export could be there, and it will also increase the jobs. Thereafter, you can write about the government, as the subsidy burden on the government can be reduced with it, and after that you can write the significance on the environment. So whenever the question comes on the agriculture, try to take these 5 stakeholders, and in fact the one more can be created, that is the rural economy, because on the agriculture rural economy is based and it is impacting that. So another stakeholders rural economy can also be made as such. And environment, farmers, society, economy and government, in this way you can answer, because in the exam they will not ask why there is a need of the exotic fruits. They will ask about the horticulture, because in this basically we can focus on the fruits and vegetables, and it can increase the income of the people. The remunerative prices can be there, and it can act as a risk mitigation strategy for the farmer, and the dependence on the rice and wheat can be reduced. I hope it is clear to you. Now this article also talks about that the mission for integrated development of the horticulture, that is MIDH, under which basically government is also providing the subsidy for the dragon fruit. So government is also focusing on the horticulture products. You can mention about the steps taken for the horticulture as such, and in GS3 agriculture, for agriculture 4 questions are being asked, so it is an important part of GS3. 4 questions will be of basically 50 marks, as 2 questions will be in the 15 markers and 2 questions will be in the 10 markers. Next, it talks about like LGBTQIA couples have also got the right to have a joint bank account. It means we are giving the rights to these couples. So if our India is moving towards the more equitable society, and you can use this as an example if the question comes on what are the steps to be taken for the gender equality or the empowerment, because if the question is on the gender equality, you can't be talking about only women, you have to take the basically other genders as well into the consideration. And if the question is on the transgenders, there also you can use these examples, and you need to the question could come on the LGBTQIA, also their rights, transgender rights could also come. So you can prepare a topic on this, and you can relate it with the GS1 social justice topic, or in the GS2 also it can be asked. Thereafter, there is a last article that talks about IPO bull run may continue as the filings pick up momentum. Basically, now the scenario is the IPO subscription is grown so much that there is a almost around 200 plus subscription seen in the sum of the shares. Now, firstly, you need to know what is IPO. This is the initial public offer. Firstly, I want to give you some reference. Like in the UPSC Economy Prelims examination, this year they have asked around 5 to 6 questions on the financial markets only. As the focus on the stock market or the financial market of the UPSC has increased, it means you have to focus here more. And in the markets, in the capital markets, we can divide to the primary or the secondary market. So in the primary market, if the basically company is selling directly to the shares to the shareholders, it will be in the primary market. And in the secondary market, basically here the buying and selling is between the shareholders. Here there is no involvement of the company as such. It will come in the secondary market. So it means the trading happening on the grow account or the Zerodha account. That is, if we are having a share on the demat account, we are selling that and it will come in the secondary market. And in the primary market, there is a IPO. There could be FPO, that is a further public offer. IPO means it's an initial public offer. The first time company is bringing the basically shares for the public. Here the public is invited to invest in the company. So it means also it is helping to invest. And in fact, if there is a bull run may continue, we will discuss bull run is what. Bull run is what, like investors are thinking in the future the prices will increase. Now think, if you as an investor, you are predicting that the prices of that share will rise, you will obviously invest, because today you are getting it for 50 rupees and tomorrow it will be 100 rupees. You can get a benefit of 50 rupees. It means this is the bull run. Bull run is when the investor is expecting the price will rise. And that is why there is a huge investment seen in the IPO. It also indicates that there is investor confidence. Why the investors are basically investing? Because they are having the confidence in the market. You can also mention in the basically positive side of the GDP, like why we are able to achieve that. Even our IPO bull run basically tells us that there is an investor confidence and that is needed for the more investment. I hope it is clear to you what is IPO and bull run, and I hope the difference between the primary and secondary market is clear to you. Let's see the previous year question that was asked in 2010. And firstly, you can take one screenshot to solve it, and then you can mention your answer in the basically comment section. Now, I hope you have already taken the screenshot and you have mentioned your answer in the comment section. Let's discuss the question. In 2010, they have asked what is bear denotes. We have discussed about the bull. So bear is just opposite of the bull. What was bull? Bull investor was thinking in the future the prices will rise. But the bear is what? The bear animal is considered to be the fearful of the facts. It means he is fearful that the prices will fall. If you will think that the prices will fall, it means you will sell the shares. For example, if you are having the share that is of 50 rupees, you are thinking it will be 20 tomorrow, you will obviously sell the share. Or if you don't have that share, then you will not buy. That is a bear market. And here the investor who feels that the price of the particular security is going to fall, that is a bear market. So answer is A, but the second option you can read, the investor who expects the price of the particular shares to rise, it will be a bull market. So as they have already about the bear market, they can ask about the bull market also. And they can go more deeper because the question depth has been more in the financial markets. I hope you are able to understand and you are able to get the basically context of the question, and you are able to get the context of the news as well. And we have discussed all of the articles. I am ending this video and we will meet on the Monday at the same time for the daily news analysis. Do join us and do comment your views on the video and also mention your answers of the questions. Thank you all of you and all of the best.